It's early morning on a Thursday, and Environment Canada has issued a wind and heavy rainfall warning in the riding of Miramichi, Grand Lake. September is hurricane season in Atlantic Canada after all, but there's no time to take shelter today. There's an election to be fought, and Conservative candidate Jake Stewart has no time to waste.
Well, we've got the election on, and I feel that going door to door is my priority. And this morning, there was about an hour and a half there that I could have gone, but I took some phone calls, and would have been better to do it not in the rain. But I think it's important to still get to the doorstep, so I'm gonna go for as long as I can.
The federal riding of Miramichi, Grand Lake is known as one of those federal bellwether ridings. Whenever the winds of change blow through here, historically, the rest of the country has followed. Now, with the remnants of Hurricane Ida blowing through the district, voters here are deciding whether the political winds are about to change once again. This riding is currently free for the taking. Liberal MP Pat Finnegan decided to retire, setting the stage for a very tight two-way race.
The two folks that are running here for the two main parties, Jake Stewart for the Conservative Party of Canada and Lisa Harris for the Liberal Party of Canada, are two political heavyweights in this area. Both are former MLAs, both are former provincial cabinet ministers. They both have a history going back to serving on municipal council. They both have strong support. And so the support for them is kind of evenly divided. And the idea that the riding is up for grabs is clear from the fact that they chose two fairly heavyweight candidates who both had to resign their positions in the provincial legislature in order to run. So there's a lot at stake here, but everybody's been asking me who I think is going to win, and I keep saying toss a coin.
So when Pat Finnegan made his announcement that he wouldn't be running, I decided right then and there that I would be, because I know that I'm ready. As I said, my municipal experience helped me in the provincial field, and all of that experience, coupled with being a minister, is going to allow me to roll up my sleeves and get to work day one at the federal table.
Lisa Harris, the federal Liberal candidate in this riding, is comfortable in front of this group of seniors in Miramichi, perhaps because she served as a provincial Liberal cabinet minister responsible for seniors and only resigned her seat to run federally.
That seniors can afford to live where they have a good quality of life, that your health care especially is being looked after. And we see what's happening here right at our hospital right today. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good at all. And we're not hearing enough about it. And it's very upsetting. And we know that there's health reforms coming. And I'm going to be able to be a voice that's going to be able to stand strong to ensure that the money coming from the federal government is going to go into the province, but it's going to land at the right place.
Jake Stewart, her Conservative opponent, has also just given up his provincial seat, one he'd held for 10 years. Both were popular provincial politicians who represented ridings that run right through this federal district. At 17,000 square kilometers, the riding is larger than Prince Edward Island, but has only about 50,000 voters.
And you've got the river out here, which is what brings all of Miramichi together. And everyone that lives on the river there's a lot of boaters, there's a lot of sea-doos, fishermen, a booming lobster fisherman industry, as well as the Atlantic salmon, the majestic fish, which fed the households of Boys Town, Dopetown, Blackville, Sunny Corner, Renews, so many of the communities that live on the river system.
That river system is the Miramichi, which connects all of these communities in one way or another. It's world famous for fishing Atlantic salmon, but climate change is affecting salmon stocks. Miramichi is trying to adapt by promoting another sport fish that is abundant on this river, the striped bass, the fish that's featured on fishing shows all over the world. Like almost everyone around here, Jeff McTavish is an avid fisherman. Today, he's trying out a new lure.
In my role as a Director of Economic Development and Tourism, we've seen a drastic change in the industries that are driving our community and the economies around them. So forestry, which used to be the mainstay for most people in this area, has now kind of transitioned to public sector jobs and tourism. And one of the reasons why we're in this boat is because of the influx of striped bass that has come and the explosion of the population and the decline of the salmon population at the same time.
Brian Gray of Miramichi Sport Fishing is at the helm this trip. An entrepreneur, he's the type of voter the politicians here want.
There was a demand for licensed guides to take people out with the proper boats and equipment. There was a huge demand for that because the fishery is so big here in the spring and the fall. So I was done working in Alberta. I worked out there for years, had a business out there, and when I came home, I always had a huge passion for fishing and used to take people fishing sometimes on my days off. So I decided I may as well start a business down here.
Now he's back home, fishing on his beloved Miramichi.
I think it's very tight because both the Liberal and the Conservative that are running for this seat were both very well liked MLAs in the province before this. So I think it's a very, very tight race they're going to have this year.
What's it going to come down to?
I don't know. I really don't know what's going to be the deciding factor. It could very well be a French and English thing because Jake is super English and he's got all upriver. And I know Lisa did well down Nigawak way in the provincial election, like when she was the MLA. So I really don't know.
We're really blessed here in New Brunswick. I mean, you know, when we look at our other provinces, you know, out west, and we see the fires and we see the floods and we see all of these things. We're really lucky here in New Brunswick to be from here. But that is going to hit us if we don't start to make better decisions. And also, you know, I said earlier about, you know, green jobs and green energy, and we need to make sure that we bring jobs here to this region. But if we can bring the green jobs here that will help our economy grow, then we're going to be ahead of the other places. So we got to be able to think outside of that box and to look to see what's coming. Maybe not what's here right now, but what is bright in the future, and how do we get our people trained and educated so that we're ready to go with whatever comes our way. And we really need to make good decisions. And I mean, talk to any, you know, school-age child that is going to school and they talk about recycling and making good choices. I mean, they're the leaders of tomorrow. And when I go to doors, I ask the questions to them as well, and that's what I hear. And they very much care about you know, our environment, and we need to listen. And when we think about young people, that is what's on the minds of young people, and they're forcing us to be better about that, and I love it.
And I would say that climate change, for me, it's important. I mean, I'm a fly fisherman. I was the kid that was diving off the 14.5-foot boat, cleaning the litter and debris out of the Miramichi River. I mean, I've always wanted to protect the environment. I've always thought that Canada is a leader in natural resource development, so I do believe we can have both. But as MP for the region, I'm not going to stifle the resource development projects because I think Canada is a global leader in how to refine those industries. So I believe we have to have environmental stewardship. We have to protect the environment, but not at the cost of killing all opportunities that involve, you know, any emissions, I guess.
The Green Party certainly talks about escalating the reduction of emissions. I feel that they take a more bold stance, is how I would put it. You know, no more pipelines, no more money being sent to oil and gas initiatives. Not doing that. And I realize that these subsidies. I believe Stephen Harper even said that there would be that they would end subsidies. And I know that Mr. Trudeau has talked about ending the subsidies, but nobody has ended these subsidies. And we would. And then that money becomes available for green, for green industry. Hi, I'm Patty Deitch. I'm running for your candidate in the upcoming federal election on September 20th. I have lived and worked as a registered nurse in Miramichi, Grand Lake for over 35 years. I am not a career politician. I have and will continue to fight hard for the health and well-being of the people here. If you're tired of the same old problems, I urge you to vote for something different. Vote for Patty Deitch of the Green Party.
Tell us about the Green Party. Does it have any hope here?
I'd have to say not in this election for sure. I do think their profile is rising. If you talked to me during the last election, the previous one, probably not much of an interest, but I think now, climate change is becoming more and more on people's radar. It is getting to be a party that people are interested in, but I think in this riding, I think it's really a two-horse race between Liberal and Conservative.
Why should people choose Lisa?
Well, people should choose Lisa because she's going to get things done. Anybody that knows me knows what my work ethic is like. I'm on the ground. I know people. I know the issues. I research, and I always get to a great result one way or another. I care about the people here. I care about the region. And, I've delivered. My record proves that. And I believe that I'm authentic, that people meet me. I am who I am. And people value that, and they can see that. And people then put their trust in me, and I'm very grateful and blessed for that. But I was a city councillor, then I became the deputy mayor, and then won 3 provincial elections. I'm very close, with...
Even when you had to sit in opposition, you were still re-elected.
Yes, I was, because I did my work. I worked all the time. I never stopped. I answer my calls. I meet with constituents. I go to events, and I just don't go to events to get a photo op. If it's a dinner or if it's an amusement thing, I go, I stay, I meet people, I talk, I care, I learn, and that's who I am. So it's, being a politician is what I do, but Lisa Harris is who I am. And they do come together, but I always want to remain who I am. That's important to me, and people really enjoy that about me. And that's why they continue to vote for me, because they know that I believe in them, which then they believe in me.
Lisa is obviously a lot of experience, and that's the same with both her and Jake, but a lot of experience. Lisa's very fiery. She's very passionate about it. She does carry her emotions on her sleeve sometimes in terms of her love for the area, and that's something people appreciate about her. She's very community-minded. Even when there's not an election campaign on, you go to an event, there's Lisa. You go to another event, there's Lisa. So people understand her passion and her love and the fact that she is a very, very hard worker. She's somebody who's worked hard all her life.
So, Jake, why you? Why did you give up? You resigned only your provincial seat only a couple of weeks ago. Why did you give that up to run? You could lose. You could lose your provincial, you could lose your job.
I've already resigned from the job I had. I was provincial MLA, you're right. I was there for 4 terms. I could have stayed 3 more. I could have stayed along and collected a salary and 3 more years of pensionable earnings. And I'm a young man. I have 4 children. There were some people that questioned that from that standpoint, but I did that job for 11 years, and a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago probably now, I wanted to run federally, but we were a minority government. I was a cabinet minister. Timing couldn't have been any worse from a personal standpoint. So obviously I stayed on as a minister, and I ran again, won the seat, probably always knowing that at some point in this mandate I would be seeking the federal nomination. I think my gut feeling was it would be a little further out, maybe a year from now, maybe a little further, but those things weren't mine to decide. So I was always going to be doing it, and I don't believe that there's ever risk. There's never reward without risk. And I didn't agree with a lot of Trudeau's policies, and I didn't agree with the way the federal government seemed really complacent in terms of the local issues here. And I wanted to take my voice and my ability and offer it to the people at the highest level.
Jake is a very smart guy. He's very, again, he's very driven to help out the community. He's very focused on things like resources. He's a fisherman himself, an angler. The Atlantic salmon's a big concern for him. And he's also very focused on rural issues because he is from a rural community. Actually, Jake and I are from the same community of Blackville, which is about 1,000 people.
I work for everybody.
Good.
Doesn't
Yes.
matter to me, because I have people come in and say, you probably won't help me because I'm conservative. I said, I'm your MLA. It's my job to help you. And they're like, really? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
You know, right now I have to be a Liberal and go get elected, but after that,
Yes.
let's just do good for everybody.
Okay.
You know, for the province and healthcare, very concerned
Yeah,
about
we're
healthcare.
really concerned about healthcare.
And, you know, so we love to hear both sides of the argument so that we can form our
We
own
try to make
intelligent
opinion.
opinion.
We tried to make a decision based on what we hear.
Like all of New Brunswick, this riding is fully bilingual. From the Anglophone Miramichi to the very Acadian community of Rogersville. Across the board, though, the issues are the same.
People are very concerned about healthcare, and that's one thing is that, you know, I'm loud and I'm proud, and they know that I am going to take that issue and I'm gonna fight, and I'm gonna really encourage, you know, a great healthcare system here in this region, and people know that I'm not one to sit back and say nothing. I'm going to have lots to say, and to ensure that we have, you know, a healthcare system that's sustainable, that is what it is now, and it can grow. We need to make sure that people from this region are able to live as long as possible in a healthy manner. And we need to ensure that we have our Region 7 hospital. So we need to make sure that the federal money that's coming into the province, that it gets to where it needs to be. And that's something I think we can do better from the federal level.
A number of different things about healthcare. A lot of the issues I'm hearing about healthcare sort of fall on the provincial government, whether it's the organization within the hospitals or the way long-term care is being managed, which obviously are huge issues across the country, not just here. But those issues are coming up, and I know that the Conservative Party of Canada, we're putting a 6% increase on federal transfers, so I'm usually able to tell the constituents that that's going to happen, which will give the province more money to work with to try to fund the system and the holes within it.
Healthcare is a huge issue on the Miramichi. We have a high rate of poverty. Healthcare is never divorced from other things like poverty.
It's a huge issue here. There's a lack of housing in general, and there's also a lack of affordable housing, of course, because that goes along with it. Seniors are having a hard time. Housing issues must have, on the doorstep, it's probably been, well, it's been in the top 10. On the doorstep, you get a wide variety, but housing has come up. And one of the issues we're going to try to do is build 1 million homes. And part of our plank is that if we build more homes, there will be more housing opportunities available. And in that, the price will come down. And that will help seniors and anybody looking for affordable housing. That's part of our platform.
There is an overarching concern about the climate emergency we find ourselves in. That isn't at the forefront of all people's minds. For a lot of people, there's a lot of poverty in this region. There are children that are hungry in this region. People who cannot find housing or safe housing, affordable housing. We met with Patty Michaud, the director of the women's shelter yesterday, and she was talking about the huge problems for women who've left domestic violence. They've gone to the shelter, and that's sort of where you debrief, but you don't really get it all together. So there's a real need for housing where it's safe, affordable, where they can continue on with their journey. And what she finds is if something doesn't come up, they end up going back to these situations of violence.
Yes, they do. It's very common.
Yes.
And they have nowhere to go, so people have nowhere to live? Or so
No. The rents are very high. I mean, we just heard when we were talking to Patty that The going rent for a one-bedroom apartment can be as high as $1,800, and that's considered affordable housing.
How much?
$1,800.
For one bedroom.
Yeah.
And that's considered affordable here in this riding?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I can't imagine. I mean, I don't think I could afford that. How can these people who are just putting their lives back together afford it?
It's a very big geographical riding, one of the biggest. It's also very diverse in terms of having a lot of rural Anglophone communities and rural French communities, and then the city of Miramichi smack down in the middle. But jobs will be the big thing. This has been a very resource-rich area. Forestry has been the traditional industry here. But back in a dozen years or so ago, we started losing a lot of the mills. They have shut down. Now we have a lot of folks who are rotational workers who are going out west and coming in. They'd prefer to work here, but they feel like they have to go out west in order to make a living wage. So the economy and jobs is big. Resources are big as well.
Miramichi is very central in New Brunswick. We have freshwater port facilities that were in use for 120 years and now they're not. We have the longest airport runway infrastructure in New Brunswick and there's nothing happening over there. We have rail lines with less customers than we used to have. We have a lot of our key infrastructure which really help make local companies more profitable and economical leadership has been very complacent, especially since Trudeau got in, and I saw that as a provincial MLA. It was always a great impediment to progress trying to achieve federal funding. But on the doorstep you get the local economic issues, affordable housing, there's a lot of seniors issues. Many people are concerned with the bypasses and the road infrastructure, bridge infrastructure. There's a wide range of issues on the doorstep.
And also ensuring, we've lost so much in this area with our mills, but there's green energy. There's so many green initiatives and projects that go right along with the economy. And we need to be a step ahead. And this is the type of thing that I'm going to listen, I'm going to learn, I'm going to seek, and I'm going to deliver back to here some of those opportunities so that we will be able to keep our economy and keep our families here. And to be able to welcome even more people to this beautiful village right here.
Food security, healthy housing, that's what makes us healthy, feeling secure. Mm-hmm. And so I do see that healthcare and it's something I know well because I've worked in the community, I've worked in the healthcare settings, the acute healthcare settings, and I've taught at the university community health nursing. So it's something I know well, and I know that there's a number of social determinants of health that actually impact us quite negatively in our riding.
With 4 First Nation communities in this riding, reconciliation is very important here. And with this race tightening daily, it could come down to earning just one Indigenous vote.
I just don't think anyone deserves a vote at this point.
Are you Indigenous?
Yes.
And so you would be one of the votes that they would want.
Right, but I'm not doing that.
You sound like you're just...
I'm over the whole government and the politics thing.
Right, and would you say that reconciliation then would be your biggest issue?
Yeah, for sure.
And whatever's happened is not enough, I take it.
Oh, no. They're trying to put that on the back burner. Okay. They put a lot of stuff in the back burner when elections come, so.
Reconciliation is paramount in Canada. As you know, I was Minister of Aboriginal Affairs in New Brunswick, the first ever standalone minister, and the entire time I was minister, there were national conversations occurring every day on truth and reconciliation. There was also national conversations on murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls, and an international conversation on the rights of Indigenous peoples. Part of my job was to go to Gatineau to receive the bundle for the murdered Indigenous women and girls with the final report. And truth and reconciliation was part of my platform as minister so that the provincial departments could continue the work to keep knocking down those priorities, because it takes time, in the system, but we were working very hard on those priorities. So for me, it's not only a priority, I think it's a necessity in the country.
That's very, very important to me. As I said, in my provincial riding, I had 3 First Nations, which I'm very close with and feel very close to the people in the First Nations. And I often learn from them. That's what I do. They've taught me so much, and I'm so blessed to have them, in the riding. And now we're adding El Sibuktuk to the riding, so there will be 4. The biggest thing is that we need to listen to what they're telling us. And we are where we are because we've refused to listen. And we think, we see from the New Brunswick point of view, systemic racism, and we see the government refuse to even look at that and to do anything about it. I mean, I push so hard on that. But what we need to do is have action. There's been enough words. So now we need to commit to action. But that action needs to come from First Nations to me. I will be the vessel that will deliver their message. And that's a pretty important job for me that I take very seriously. But I will bring forth what they believe is best for their communities, best for their people. And I will stand beside them, I will stand with them, and I will ensure that their actions with the Truth and Reconciliation, we need to start getting them done. I mean, there's been a lot of great work done, but there's so much more to do.
In the end, even if what happens in Miramichi Grand Lake has a major impact on the national stage, like so many races, this one comes down to local politics. And door knocking, I guess.
A lot of door knocking, a lot of old school politics, yeah. That's the way of this riding. A lot of people like that personal touch. They want to talk to you, they want to listen to you, they want to know that you're engaged. That makes a big deal here. It's a little old-fashioned that way.
Every vote's going to count, I guess.
Yeah, if it's anything like last time around, it will be every single vote counts.
See you later. Have a good day.
And on this day in Miramichi, as one candidate runs off to a funeral in a rainstorm, and another knocks on door after door, no one can say which way the wind is blowing in this riding.